All right, everyone, remember when the ACLU used to actually fight for civil liberties? Man, it was a long time ago. I was still a kid, I think, at the time. Ever since maybe the mid to late 2000s, they've slowly abandoned that mission statement. For instance, they'll no longer fight for you if it involves guns. So they no longer think that the Second Amendment actually is part of the Constitution. It's sort of a creeping social Marxism, really, when it comes to their organization. But one of their members there was commenting about Nick Sandmann going to Transylvania College or University. It's basically, I think it's a small university. It's in Kentucky, I believe, if I remember correctly, or Tennessee. One of those. You get those states messed up in geography all the time. But Sandmann is a normal kid who happens to be a millionaire at this point, but otherwise a normal individual. And you'll remember him as the Covington kid who got called a bigot, a fascist, a racist, xenophobic, horrible person who needed jail time or diversity courses because he was targeting Native Americans and mocking them. He sued multiple outlets for defamation over this because it was wrong. And you know, those of us who bothered to look at footage of the instance involved with the rally that was being held at the time, those of us who looked at that, we knew Sandmann would win his defamation cases, and he's achieved several largely likely to be multi-million-dollar settlements. He did nothing wrong. He is not a bigot. He is not a bad person. Because of the fact that he has been dragged over the coals, defamed, harassed, even threatened by people on the left, naturally he did what a rational, reasonable individual would do, and he determined that people that are on the left are a threat, that they're not people he wants to party with, and so occasionally he has like political views, like he spoke, you know, for Trump at the RNC, puts on his MAGA hat, and it was a very powerful moment. It was one of the better speeches there. Just a normal kid who happens to have the political beliefs that he has. He got targeted now by an ACLU member simply for the act of going to college. This person's like, well, don't you think that it's a little bit bad that it's a stain on this university that they're letting this kid in? Haven't you had enough of defaming this fucking kid? Isn't he still, he's barely like 20, I think. I don't even think he's old enough to have a Budweiser. He's already been raked over the coals, and they're still trying to victimize him. And that's what this is. There's a reason why the post was removed, by the way. Even the ACLU knows better at this point. This person, I guess, went rogue, and they're like, well, this doesn't speak to our views on Sandmann. This was his own opinion. And then there was a professor, actually, at the college that he's attending, who weighed in on that very post. I guess he's a diversity coordinator or something like that. And he's like, well, yeah, this horrible Sandmann, he's anti-intellectual, and you know, I'll file complaints if he's trolling or doing anything unethical. Then he has to apologize. What they should do is fucking fire this professor. Start firing these people that are clearly not doing their jobs. Stay in your fucking lane. Diversity professor. Okay, if Sandmann becomes one of your students, you can talk to Sandmann about diversity and stuff. I hazard a guess he's probably not going to be attending your Intro to Women's Studies course. I have a feeling that's not what he's interested in. Maybe he wants to have a real job when he graduates at some point. What the fuck is he studying anyway? Probably some STEM degree or something. Seems smart. He's smart enough to win millions of dollars. I don't even know why he's bothering to go to college. You invest the amount that you make from these kind of settlements, he's a multimillionaire. That part is probably almost certain. If you just invest that money well, you can live off the interest for the rest of your life. You don't really need to get a day job. You know, do some freelance work. Why don't you run for office? You got the name recognition. Why don't you run for mayor or something? Sandmann should get into politics. His qualification got universally lambasted by the entire corporate media, knows fucking damn well how bad censorship is and how bad the problem of journalistic non-integrity has grown in the United States. But for an ACLU member to come out, again, and lambaste him as though he's a bad person, you wouldn't even know who he was unless you knew him as that kid who literally stood there. It was surreal at the time with the Covington incident. What ended up happening, for those of you who have been under a rock or just forgot, I'll give you a brief, too long didn't read refresher. There are rallies being held in D.C., Sandmann and some of the Covington kids are there as part of a Walk for Life thing. I think it was an anti-abortion movement. They're in their MAGA hats and stuff. They're just sitting there on the steps. and several people from a Native American, like an Indigenous Peoples Day march, come up to them beating their drums. And the Covington kids start doing some sort of dance that they do at sports events to the beat of the music. The legacy media went nuts. This one particular individual got right up in Sandmann's face, and Sandmann literally stood there. That's all he did. He didn't move a goddamn muscle. At first, the kids thought that it was an attempt, apparently, to drown out the black Israelis that were there, and they were there to hurl abuse at both the Covington kids and the Native Americans. And when these Native Americans came up to the kids, one of them said, "Go back to Europe," and was saying racist shit to them. Now, that's the real event. The real event was the Covington kids were just standing there. They weren't mocking anyone. Sandmann certainly didn't do anything wrong. The fake story that we got for the first few hours from people that were using one hastily edited clip out of 3 which were initially available showing the full incident. What we got instead from Bloomberg and CNN and Huffington Post and Salon.com and MSNBC and ABC and the Young Turds and all of these others was, look at these racist kids. They go up to these Native Americans and they're mocking them by doing a fake tribal dance, and Sandmann's sitting there. He's the face of white supremacy. Look at the smirk on that little bitch's face. It's the opposite of truth. The problem? They got sued because most of them failed to retract in a timely manner. Despite the fact that they were obviously being tipped off to clips of the full event, they persisted for, in some cases, several days in labeling him the racist smirk kid. Well, that's really, really bad for them because they had to pony up a lot of cash. He was suing some of these groups for $250 million apiece. Now, of course, he's not going to get anywhere near that in the settlement, but it wouldn't be a stretch to say he got $1 million from each of these settlements. Possibly several million, at least in the high 6-figure total. I guarantee they held out for that. He's rich. He's a millionaire now. Multi-millionaire. He'll get, I believe, more settlements. I think some of the cases are ongoing. He's already won settlements from 2 of them. One by one, he's going to pick. He might have $10 million in the bank by the time this is all said and done. The ACLU wants to fuck with him further? Maybe he should go after them for defamation. Maybe he should sue this individual. That'd be funny. Then he should donate it to the Transylvania University's student aid fund or something like that. He should fund a park bench. He should fund a little park there, Nicholas Sandmann Memorial Park. Much thanks to the legacy media and the ACLU for defaming me and providing funds for this little park or something. He should troll them that way. It'd be the funniest fucking thing ever. There are so many cool things that he can do with his life. Look, he's barely old enough, I think, to drink a Budweiser, and I'm not even sure he's 21. He's already rich. He's fairly internationally well known. He could really roll this over into some good shit if he plays his cards right. More power to him. Hopefully he slams the university here. Apparently, this shows that he's like the good guy in this situation. He came out and said, please don't attack the university after the diversity professor there was lambasting him on the ACLU post that got removed. He was actually defending the university, and trust me, better person than I am. I would have gone hog wild if I had been in the situation. Especially when I had enough fuck you money so that I didn't need to deal with a diversity professor lambasting me and I could just say fuck off. I wouldn't have even bothered. I would have said fuck the university and left and gone to a different college. It's not like there weren't many colleges that would want someone with that name recognition in any way, especially when they can badger and harass them afterwards for the alumni fund. Well, Mr. Sandmann, we know that you're worth like $3 million. Could you spare a penny for us for the alumni's club? Could you spare 50 grand? You know, we want to put in a couple of signs. We want to hire another diversity professor. That's about all. Peace out.